Hello, my name is Douglas Bloch. I'm an author and depression survivor. Welcome to your Depression Recovery channel, where each week we talk about practical tools and coping strategies for healing from depression and anxiety. As many of you know, this channel began by my telling my story of how I recovered from a life-threatening depressive illness. Now we're going to add a new feature to the channel by interviewing other people who have also gone through depression and come out the other side. So I'd like to start with a client named Claire, actually a former client who was in my group, and she's going to share with us her journey of recovery. Hello, Claire.
Hello, Doug, and thanks for asking me to do this.
It's really great that you're here. So I want to start out by just asking what your diagnosis is.
Anxiety and depression.
And is there any of this on your parents' side? Because you know, in your family history is what I mean. Because depression and anxiety do run in families.
Yes, some on my father's, but on my mother's, quite a bit. Alcoholism and mental illness.
Right, and I often see alcoholism or addiction involved in depression. So when did you first notice that you were depressed or had anxiety? Probably, I'd say adolescence. That's a very common time.
And that's exactly when it happened.
Right. And you said earlier that you felt at first it was kind of normal. This is what most people felt like.
I assume so. I had no other way of knowing.
Right. Well, adolescents do go through a lot of changes, but for you it was more than just the normal changes of puberty. And I think at some point it got so bad that you had to go in the hospital, right?
Yes, this was as an adult in my early 30s.
Right. And what precipitated you going into the hospital?
The death of my first husband.
Ah. Yes. We have a video we've done about how grief and loss can trigger depression, and that certainly seems that's what happened with you.
Yes.
And so what happened when you were in the hospital? How were you treated, or what was your experience?
Well, it was funny. I felt like I was among my people for the first time, people who actually talked about their mental problems. It was a revelation to me that other people felt like I did.
You mean you didn't feel so isolated, you felt you weren't the only one?
Absolutely.
And that, of course, is a really critical key of recovering from depression, to realize that you're not alone.
And that helped me a lot. It helped me a lot.
And then after you got out of the hospital, how did they follow up with outpatient therapy?
I saw a psychiatrist, and I had medication, and that was very helpful. Gave me a lot of insights into myself.
So the medication was beneficial?
Yes.
Did you also do therapy and kind of look into some of your family history and stuff like that?
Maybe not the family history so much, but my own way of reacting to life.
And dealing with stress, perhaps?
Yes, dealing with stress. And but like I said, I learned a lot about myself during that time.
Great. And that was your early 30s?
That was my early 30s.
So since then, have you had any other episodes like that, or have they just been sort of minor ups and downs?
I had one other pretty major one. I went through a divorce.
See, another loss.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
I'll do it every time, won't it?
Right. But I have my ups and downs still. Going through the change also had some rocky times for me.
But you have found some tools and coping strategies that have helped you to keep your mood even and to basically help you deal with symptoms?
Yes.
So what are some of the ones that have really helped you the most?
Well, medications when needed. They're great. What
about exercise? That's one of my favorites.
Exercise is great, especially outside. There's nothing better than doing a walk for an hour outside. Not isolating yourself.
Absolutely.
Doing charitable work. I use that as another way to brighten my mood. It really, really does. And I've been learning Buddhist meditation.
Oh, that's great. So how does meditation help? Because that's one subject we haven't covered yet on the channel that we need to talk about.
It calms your mind down. You don't have that little hamster in the wheel sort of thing where your thoughts just are obsessively coming back and coming back.
Because you talked about brooding before, and you know, one of the major problems that people have who have depression, like myself, is ruminating, thinking about the same thing over and over and over again. And meditation helps you break that cycle?
Yes, yes, and learning how to breathe. One of the methods that I've learned recently also is to observe the emotional states when they come up and realize that they are not you. And it's actually a rather simple thing. I've done that when I have anxiety in particular. When it comes up, I observe it. I say, where is it coming from? Is it coming from my abdomen? Is it coming from my solar plexus? Does it have a weight?
Right.
Yes. Does it have a shape? And the more you do that, it helps break up and makes that that feeling dissipate.
So you're talking about awareness, really. You're talking about bringing the light of awareness to the anxiety,
yes.
witnessing it from a neutral place,
right.
and that kind of makes it dissipate,
yes.
as opposed to grabbing onto it.
Yes, and letting it overwhelm you. It's
right.
like, it really makes a difference.
Right. Well, that's the whole purpose of meditation in general, and it seems like you're applying it to your own mental health, situation.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, it's something all my life I've wanted to find a way to control my mind and the brooding and getting into a
right.
black spiral. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what cognitive behavioral therapy tries to do, is to help people with their thoughts, because your thinking affects your mood and your feelings.
Absolutely.
So one last thing, a couple of years ago you decided to join my depression support group,
mm-hmm.
and I wondered what that experience was like and what the benefits are of being in a group like that.
Well, again, solidarity. You're with people who are suffering like you are, and very supportive. That was another nice thing, because people, when you would talk about yourself, a lot of people would kind of pitch in and say, well, have you thought of this, or if you might want to try that. So that was really great to get different perspectives
right.
on my own situation, and learning how to squelch those dark feelings when they first appear.
Right.
Again, instead of having them overwhelm you.
Right. The support of the community is so crucial.
Absolutely.
And of course, in between groups, you would call people and they would call you, and it was, you were
mm-hmm.
in it. You weren't in it alone.
Yes.
And makes such a difference when you don't have to do it alone.
Yes, that's one thing I would say. Do not isolate yourself. That's
right.
not a healthy thing to do. Get out and get around people. Go to the library if you need to be around
right.
people.
And I think the last thing the group helped you with is to break up the shame, to see that you're not. A lot of the people in that group were quite high functioning. They were working. They were not in any way different from anybody else. So the idea that a person who's depressed has a weak will or a defective character is really not correct whatsoever.
No.
And you saw that in the group because
yep.
you saw so many people like yourself.
And very helpful. It was very helpful.
Okay. I really appreciate your being here. Is there any final thing you'd like to share? A final bit of wisdom you'd like to share with the viewers to, give them a tip that could be really useful?
To overcome depression and anxiety is an ongoing project.
Right.
And
not a one-time event.
Not a one-time event. And be kind to yourself. Don't be hard on yourself if you trip up. It's okay.
Right.
It's quite all right.
Just pick yourself up and move
right.
back on.
And get outside.
Like here.
like here.
That's why we sat around for an hour waiting for these people to get ready. That's all right. We forgive you. It's beautiful out here in sunny Portland. Where are we in? Is it March or something? March 6th? It's 65 degrees. Who would have guessed?
Yeah.
All right. This has been Douglas Bloch. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you learned something from it. If you want to learn more about my work, you can go to healingfromdepression.com or click on the links at the end of the credits, and you'll be taken to a subscribe button where you can subscribe to this channel. And until we meet again, I wish you the best in your mental health recovery. Thank you.